My rear SRAM Guide RE brake has gone a bit spongy. It seems to stop okay, but I'm positive that the lever feel has changed compared to when it was new. You join me in this video as I perform a brake bleed to see if I can get it feeling as sharp as it once was. I've purchased a SRAM bleed kit from bigrideracing.co.uk. I didn't get one with the bleeding edge adapter as the calipers on my Guide RE brakes are not S4 calipers. If you're unsure whether you need the bleeding edge adapter to bleed your SRAM brakes, then Google is your friend. Now, included in this kit I have got there's some instructions here should they be needed. We've got 2 syringes. We have got 2 adapters which will allow us to screw into the bleed ports of both the lever and the caliper. There's some gloves should you want to wear those. There's a brake lever strap. I can show you what that is going to be used for later, although brake lever strap may well indicate what I'm going to use it for. There's a bit of blue toweling here just in case we get any spillages. And they also supply a T10 Torx key. They supply that one here. I am going to actually substitute it for my own one. I'm going to use that. I'd like to use this one. One thing they don't actually put in the kit itself is bleed blocks. So these are for my XT brakes. My XT brakes are only 2 piston. The calipers on here on the Guide REs are the same as the Code calipers, and they are 4-pot calipers. So I'm going to see if maybe I can somehow get both of these in the caliper to perform the same job as a 4-pot caliper bleed block. Right, you're going to want to start by getting the brake pads and the rotor out the way of the caliper before we start undoing any of these ports. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. Obviously you could remove the wheel and take the pads out, but in this case I'm going to actually take the pads out and remove the caliper from the bike, and I'm going to let the caliper hang, so it's a lot lower than the brake lever. I mean, it's lower than the brake lever anyway, but I'm just going to let it hang down here so it's more of an uphill line for when it comes to the bleeding process. So I'm going to start by getting my 5mm Allen key, and then we're just going to undo the 2 bolts. You've got to be careful as you undo these because there's lots of spacers and washers that this is holding down, and basically you don't want to lose those or not know which way round they go when it all goes back together. I'm going to lift from the adapter itself up like that, and we know that we have everything that there should be there. It could be worth actually just wrapping a bit of tape around these, around this bolt here and this bolt here, just so everything is sandwiched in place ready for when you're going to reassemble it. I'm actually going to do that right now. So as you can see, I have put some just electrical tape around both of those bolts, sandwiching all the washers and the adapter to the caliper. Here you can see we've got the brake pads with a T10 bolt going through it, but before we remove that bolt there's a little circlip here that just needs to be pulled off the end. Now you can use some long nose pliers or you can use your fingers just to literally, if I put it around that way, just pull it off. Okay, keep that somewhere safe obviously, because you are going to need that. And now we can undo the T10. Now that little circlip is only there to stop the bolt coming out if it works its way loose, but it's always good peace of mind to have that in position. So there we go, T10, unscrew that like so, and then it's going to allow us to draw the brake pads out. So if I'm just going to get that under there, maybe push up from underneath, yeah, okay, hold it like that and pull it out. Now Now you might want to remember which pad goes on which side, so it could be worth just to put an L on it, for example, for left, and then you know the other one's the right hand side, just so it goes on the correct side on the rotor when it goes back into position. I'm just going to put this old rag down here just in case we get a little bit of leakage from the caliper when I start to work on it. Now what I'm actually going to do before I start to bleed anything at all, I'm just going to advance the pistons in here just to ensure they're clean. I'm just going to put also a dab of DOT 5.1 fluid around the outsides of them and then push them back into the caliper before I get started. Now I did actually forget to mention that you do get 5.1 fluid in with the kit. You get 100 millilitres. You have got an option as well, I believe, to buy an extra 100 millilitres with it when you purchase it, but I've only got this one here. I've got one of these. It's a bit like a long cotton earbud or a Q-tip if you're in the States, but this one actually came from a kit that I had which allowed me to clean the heads on my cassette deck many years ago. So yeah, what better time to use it than now, as I don't actually use cassettes anymore. So here we go. So I've got some fluid on here. I'm just going to literally dab it around the outside of these calipers. Oh sorry, pistons. Just to clean them up a bit. Yeah, it's a little bit dirty in there. Do it both sides or wherever you can get it to. Go, and that one as well. And now that's cleaning, look at that, that's cleaning out quite nicely. That's pretty much the only places I can get it on there. I'm not stripping the caliper down. So now that that is wiped a bit there, I'm just going to put a dab on with the other clean end, and then I'm going to push those ones back in. So push them back in with your tie lever. Again, I don't know if you're actually going to be able to see this or not. I'll just go ahead and do it. It might need a bit of effort to push them back in, but they will go. I'm just doing one and then the other, and there we go. They have now gone back into position. Just need to clean in there a little bit, so I'm going to use the rag and I'm going to use the tie lever. Just wipe off any excess that could be in there, because when the pads go back in, we don't want any chance or any risk of the oil going on to the pads, because then it's probably time to get new pads. I've just actually noticed that these bleed blocks do actually cover pretty much 90%, if not, yeah, I'd say 90% of both of those, or all of those pistons in there. So I'm actually going to put that in place. It is a little bit loose and I can't secure it through the top here. You can see here there's a hole for the retainer screw, which would retain the pads normally. On a Shimano it'd fit, on here it will not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trusty electrical tape again, and I'm just going to hold that in position. Here we go. So I'm just going to put a couple of winds of that around there, just to make sure that that does not fall out. And just double check that your pistons are covered, and you know what, that is actually looking pretty good. I just made the assumption that they wouldn't be big enough. Looks like I was wrong. Okay, you're going to want to fill one of your syringes up about halfway and the other one about 1/3 of the way. Make sure when you've done it you have closed the two blocks on both of the syringes, and we are going to need to get the air out of the oil. Now, air out of the oil, I hear you say? Yeah, air out of the oil. Now, even though you can't see it, there are going to be some small air bubbles in here that are going to appear. To get them to come out, you need to create a vacuum in the syringe. So basically you want to push on the syringe to start with, okay? Apply some pressure. And then you're going to need to draw back on that syringe. And as you do this, you did see a little bubble then. You are going to see some bubbles appear from here. Now sadly, I thought I'd already recorded this, but it appears that I hadn't recorded it, so it was a user error. You might not actually see many bubbles appear because I've already done it. So I'm just pulling back on that, give it some taps. Oh no, you can see some here, look, just coming up through the oil now. That's good. I'm glad that you can see that. Yeah, needs to do this a few times. So once you're done there, just pressurize again this way, just to give it a bit of a push. And then draw back again on that syringe, and just keep doing that until you see that the amount of bubbles that are coming out have dramatically reduced. Okay, see them going again there. It might take a little while. I'm going to do this one and do the other syringe as well. So now we've done that, we need to just get rid of the air which is just left at the top here. It's in the tube. Make sure that your tube clamp or your tube lock is open, and you're going to need to just push that air out. So make sure you've got some rag or something on there to help that leave. When you're happy that there is no air in there, so I'm just seeing that appearing at the top now as oil, do that hose lock back up. Repeat with the other syringe. If your lever has contact point and bite point adjustment, ensure that you set these to fully open. And also make sure that you move your lever so that the lever blade is pointing kind of down to the ground. Now for the caliper end. So you will find the bleed port itself just here, as I indicated earlier on. So this is a T10, we're going to need to unscrew that, and we are going to connect the syringe up that we half filled with fluid. Now as we undo this, you may well find that some fluid will come out. That's not a problem. Go, just make sure you keep that bleed screw somewhere safe. Connect up the syringe just by screwing it in. Telling me this don't fit. Oh my god. Yes, we are. We're in. For a moment then, I thought I did actually need the kit for an S4 caliper. But I don't. It does go. Persevere and it will go in. I was going to say, because the S4 calipers, I'm pretty sure you have a bleed port somewhere down here where my thumb is. That one is definitely not S4, so that's in. We have the hose lock is still on there at the moment. We are going to need to do the same at the lever end now. So here is your bleed screw, again T10, unscrew that and put the other syringe in there, like so. I've opened the hose lock on the syringe at the bar. I'm also going to open the hose lock on the syringe at the caliper. Holding it vertically here, I am going to start to push the fluid out of this syringe, and what it's going to do is it's going to push through, and the fluid in the syringe at the bars, the volume in that syringe will increase. If you see that the fluid that's coming out at the bars is discoloured or dirty, you'll probably want to repeat this procedure a couple of times until you've got it out coming clear. That will ensure that all of the oil in the system will be good to use. So here we go. I'm just going to start to push this now, and that is going through. And you don't want to push all of it out. You're going to leave a bit in the bottom. And as I'm pushing on here, I'm going to see if I can actually show you what is happening up at the bar. We've got a visual on there. We've definitely got air that's come out there, but that might be where I've disconnected and stuff. So as I'm just going to start pushing again now, you can see that that syringe is actually filling. Okay, and that's probably as much as I'm going to go on here. We can see that the fluid in this syringe is pretty clear, so I don't think I'm going to need to repeat the procedure. But as I say, if it's dirty, you're going to want to go again. Okay, there we go. So I've strapped the lever to the bar. Before you do that, something I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about the lever settings is to make sure that it's between 75 and 80 millimeters away from the center of the bar. So if it is further than that or less than that, you're going to need to adjust the reach using your reach adjustment screw just to get it into position. I had to wind mine in 5 clicks, so I know that when it's all done, if I wind it back out 5 clicks, the reach should be in the correct position. And obviously don't forget to lock that tube lock. So now we're back down at the caliper end. We're going to need to create a vacuum, a bit like we did when we were prepping the syringes earlier on, getting the bubbles out. We're going to need to do it to get any air bubbles out of the caliper itself. Grab the syringe and we're going to need to pull on it like we did last time, just to see if we can get some bubbles out. And we have got bubbles coming out of that tube. I'm going to try and get you a bit closer, but it might now be too late to actually see them. Okay, I'm going to now push down again on the syringe just to put some pressure back in. And it's not going to disappear from the syringe because remember, the lock is on at the one at the bars. Okay, and I'm just going to pull it once more. Have a look at that hose to see if we got any more bubbles coming. Yeah, there's a couple there. There's a couple coming up. Might be worth giving it a bit of a tap as well. So I'm trying to do this. I think we are pretty much there. No, there's another one. Another one came out. Yeah, there's still more coming out. If you can see them all popping up there. Okay, just going to repressurize again, just by pushing. There we go, and I'm going to do another pull. Yeah, and there's still more bubbles coming out. Yeah, you can see them just coming up here and popping up into the top. Hopefully you did see that and my finger wasn't in the way. Right, that's your lot. I don't think there's going to be any more coming out of there. So now I'm just going to push down once more. And then we're going to go to the lever end. So now what I want to do is actually release the lever. But as I take the strap off, I'm holding the lever to the bars. Okay, and when I do slowly release this back into position, what I want to do is just push down on this syringe just to replenish oil back into the system, just to make sure we keep it pressurized really. And I'm pushing on this syringe down at the caliper and I'm actually feeling the brake lever push my thumb away. So I'm going to let it tell me that it's time to move. So I say, just keeping that pressure down at this syringe. We are there, which is good because I am pretty much out of fluid. We are there. Go. T10 is back in place. We're just going to want to wipe up that oil that has dripped out, but don't worry about the oil that's dripped out because we can replace that now from the lever end. A water spray Just literally spray that on there. Make sure we remove that oil that has basically run on the caliper. It can actually strip paint off of calipers. So if you want them looking good and fresh, you need to get that out. Now we're going to create a vacuum at the lever end. So release the hose lock at the lever syringe and pull the syringe to egress any air from the lever. Don't know if you can see down here that we have actually got air bubbles coming out. Don't know why I'm flicking the syringe. Just going to try and tap the lever itself. Going to do that a few times. So now I'm just going to give it a little push to push oil back in and kind of pressurize it all again. There we go. And now I'm going to pull it again. See if we've got more bubbles coming out, which we have. Just repeat that a few times. Still more bubbles coming out. I don't know if you can see it or not. They're small, but they're coming. Now we're going to push down on the syringe again, but this time we feel some good resistance. There we go. This time we're going to pull on the lever around about 10 times, and we're going to repeat the vacuum process again. Okay, so pull up. Yeah, there's more bubbles coming out. Here we go. I'm going to do that a good couple of times. 2 bubbles I saw that time. Try that once more. 1 bubble that time. Should we go once more? Why not? We're here, we're set up. And 0 bubbles that time. Excellent. So now there are no more bubbles coming out. I'm just going to push down on this syringe one last time. There we go, and I'm going to close the hose lock, the 2 block. There we go. It's now time to remove the syringe at this end. But before I do that, I'm just going to level up the brake a bit more, just to hopefully eliminate any fluid coming out now. So if we put that up, basically upright, like so. You are going to need to have some rag underneath it, because you still might get some come out and you don't want it to drip anywhere near your front brake in this occurrence. So here we go. Let me just undo that now. Like so. Yes, there is a little bit dribbly drobbling out. If we get that in though, and do that T10 up. Like so, we are done. So all we need to do at this lever at the moment is the same as what we did on the caliper. Give it a bit of a wipe, give it a bit of spray from your water, just to try and neutralize that oil that has come out. Make sure it's nice and clean. Now it's time to get the caliper back into place. First off, we're going to need to remove the bleed block that we put in. Let's pull that block out of there. Again, wipe down. I'm going to just get inside there again, because if you remember, we did advance the pistons and put some oil on them. Now I'm going to take off the tape, which I've used to keep all of the washers and such in position, so we didn't lose them or get confused on how they go back together. Okay, that's that one. Again, I'm going to wipe here, just in case any oil got under that tape. We do not want that getting on the rotor or the pad. Right, let's get this back on to the mounting holes with our 5mm Allen key. Now, I'm not going to do it up too tight because I've got to slip the pads in there yet. Okay, so grabbing those pads, I did put an L on my one there. If you can see, I don't know, but it's the L. So that's the left hand side for me. Just going to slip those in the top. Like so. Now we need that T10, the retainer bolts just to go in here. And then once that is tight, obviously, we do not need to forget the circlip which goes on the opposite end. So that is now all in position on the top here. Okay, if you have done this method by removing the caliper from the bike, you're probably, as I say, you're going to need to centre that onto your rotor again. Even if you've taken the wheel out to put back in, you may still find you're going to need to recenter your pads. So what I'm going to do first, that is still loose. I'm going to pull on the lever a few times just to see how that is feeling. Well, that feels quite nice. Yeah, that feels now like the front one. So I'm just going to pull on this again, like so, and I am going to tighten up these bolts, the caliper bolts in the top. Hopefully would be somewhere near, but as I say, you may still need to align it by eye from there. It feels sharper at the bars, which is definitely what I was going for. Okay, so there we go, we have all done. I've put the lever back to the position on the bar that I like it. It is feeling really nice and responsive compared to pre-bleed. With your syringes, once they've been used, wash them with water thoroughly. Don't use any kind of soap or anything with them. Dry them out, and then they'll be ready for use again next time round. Let me know if you found this video useful. Also let me know in the comments down below if there are any tips that you would like to add. Maybe you do it in a slightly different way. I'd like to hear about it. Okay, great. So until next time, I am stay safe.